Okay, so can you tell me about estate planning?
I can tell you about estate planning. Estate planning, I think, gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people feel very scared and kind of doomsday and overwhelmed when we're talking about estate planning. I think we as, in American society, we tell ourselves that just the ultra wealthy or the very old are the people who need estate plans. Really, all the estate plan is a written legal set of documents that set forth your needs, your intentions about what happens if you can't speak for those things. We help you get very clear about what things should go where, what people should get what, and who should be in charge to making sure that your plan is doing what you want it to do, what you need it to do. Estate planning incorporates not only our will, so what happens when I die, but an estate plan also includes our incapacity documents. So if something happens to me and I'm unable to appropriately communicate my needs, I have set forth documents nominating a person who I trust, who knows my needs, who knows my values, who's going to make decisions on my behalf that are in line with what we've talked about before. And so rather than relying on, a conversation I might have with my friend saying, hey, if I'm unable to communicate, you'll be the person in charge, right? Well, that's typically not good enough for under the world of HIPAA rules and regulations and medical facilities and doctors. They really want to see something legally executed and that everyone's got the right authorizations and pass so that, covers everyone's rear. Really. But estate planning is for everyone. So whether or not you have very little in terms of currency, assets, maybe you're renting a home, that's fine. You still have an estate. It can be as big or as little, but it still exists. So it's important that you get to be empowered and take charge and make decisions that are right for you, for your family, for your loved ones, so they don't all have to guess where things are and what you want to see done with them.
Thank you. Can you tell me about the importance of creating a will?
So, wills are like the map. So all the stuff that we have, those are our treasures. Be they big treasures, little treasures, all sorts of things. But if we don't put things down on paper in a will saying, whatever you've figured out what I have, this is who's in charge, to make sure it goes where it needs to go. You've left folks without a map, and you're leaving your loved ones in a time of grief and stress to now also have to navigate a legal system that's going to be very foreign for a lot of folks. In Washington and Idaho, it's not like the probate system is super crazy and mysterious. It's just that wouldn't we like to make things as streamlined as possible for people that they don't have to do extra work. So we create plans. I'm going to hold one up for you. Here it is. You get it in a binder. It's giant. It's tabbed. Folks don't have to go and call later in a panic and say, I heard he had a life insurance, but do you know who the carrier is? Or do you know where he kept that information? Hey, did you know if he had a safety deposit box? Hey, did you happen to know where he banked? What are the passwords to the email account so I can hack through it and figure out where the statements are? Like, these are all these questions that become really, really important and super critical when someone passes away or someone becomes incapacitated. Our whole goal is to make things as simplified, the least amount of conflict and chaos, with the least amount of court intervention as possible. And if you can just get ahead of all of these questions and have them answered for your loved ones and for yourself, folks don't have to go running around when they'd much rather be at your bedside, or they'd much rather be together with loved ones, grieving together, healing together. In terms of making things super simple, not only do we give you, of course, your original signed executed documents, but you'll also get a flash drive so that in the world of electronic medical records, you can upload a lot of these things, the powers of attorneys, the HIPAA authorization, a living will, healthcare directive, all of these things, so that they're all ready in place, so people don't have to carry around pieces of paper in their purse.
Okay. So can you tell me the difference between a will and a living will and why it is important to have both?
Yes, it is super important to have both. So your will, just as we talked about, that is the document that becomes the live thing when I die, and not until then. But a living will, also known as an advanced healthcare directive, helps your healthcare agent, your medical agent, make decisions on your behalf if you're in a persistent vegetative state, if you're on artificial hydration and nutrition. Do you want those removed? What do you want about pain control? All of these things. Those decisions are going to have to come up at some point for every single one of us. And we don't know when that is. But by empowering your medical agent, your healthcare agent, with your living will, with your advanced healthcare directive, you are telling them, like, this is a really heavy burden for you to have to make a decision someday about when to remove artificial hydration and nutrition, those life support services. That's a heavy burden on them, and it's a burden of love, and they will want to do it for you, but they want to feel incredibly certain that they're making the decision at the right time based on what you want, and the only way to do that is to set forth those intentions on paper.
Okay, thank you. So can you explain why it's important to have a power of attorney established?
So in our office, we separate out healthcare decision-making, so that's the power of attorney as it relates to your health, your medical decisions, and your legal and financial decisions, because I personally feel that the person that you trust to help make your legal financial decisions may not be the right person to help you make those medical decisions. Maybe they are, but I want to give you the opportunity to say, hey, I think that's actually two people, or that's a lot to really give one hat. That's a lot of responsibility for one person. But again, that's up to you, and you get to make those choices if you execute these documents. For a power of attorney over your legal and financial matters, they're going to help make sure that your bills are getting paid on time, taxes are getting filed. If you need to rent out real estate, or you need to buy or sell something, they can help you do all of those things, so that if transportation or mobility are difficult for you, there's that power of attorney who can run over to the bank or go see an attorney for you on your behalf. They're standing in your shoes. That's a tremendous amount of responsibility and rights, but it's someone you really want to help you get those things done. And you get to make a decision whether you want to execute that for someone to have that authority right now upon execution of the document, or we can say only upon incapacity, and here's how we define that. Here are the doctors that have to make that determination. So you get to be really in that front driver's seat, taking control over that, and it's your right and opportunity to do that. And what a blessing to your family, certainly.
So can you tell me about some considerations that a person may need to take in with young children versus somebody who has adult grown children when they are going about this process?
Absolutely. So I have two young girls, ages 6 and 3, and the planning that I have to put in place is going to look different necessarily from someone whose children are all grown or don't have any children at all. So here are some considerations. If I die and my husband's incapacitated because we're both in the car and the car crashes, what happens to my children? Who raises them? What happens in those first moments? Who are the guardians? Who are the backups to the guardians? Those are all really important decisions that parents of young children really need to spend a lot of time being mindful and thinking about and thinking through. Other considerations around, if the long-term guardian doesn't live nearby, will the children be moved? What does that look like? How does that affect your decision-making? In our plans where parents have young children at home, we also include a kids protection plan, and in all of your wallets you will get something like that. and it says family emergency ID card. I have minor children waiting for me at home or at school. In case I'm unable to communicate, please contact the following people in the order listed, as they have authority and instructions regarding the care of my children. And then I've got four people listed with their telephone numbers that a first responder should call to make sure that my children are always they're always taken care of by people that we know, love, and trust, and so do our children. Conversely, if my children were 20 and 22, then I don't have to think about these guardians. It can be a different conversation. It's around, where are my children in their lives right now? Are they in college? Do I think it's appropriate to give money in a certain way? Do I want to protect it? It's just the conversation looks different, but it's a conversation that needs to be had and routinely updated. So in our office, we bring our parents in every 2 years. Even if you don't have children, we bring our clients in every 2 years and we say, okay, let's look at this line by line. Does this still work for you? Are the people that we've nominated still appropriate? Do they still live here? Maybe they've gotten sick. I don't know, but it's at least an opportunity for us to sit down and make sure that this plan's going to do what you need it to do when you need something to happen.
So I know that there is some misconceptions out there about being married and creating a will. So can you explain why it's important to have a will in place, even though you are married, and have someone who can step in and take care of, the children, the house, and all the things that you would rely on someone to do after you pass?
Absolutely. Yes, even married people need plans. And here's why. So I like my husband a whole lot. And in that example situation, if we go out on a date and we're hit by a drunk driver and I die and he's incapacitated, there's some things got to happen. I can't make any decisions for him at that point because maybe I'm incapacitated, maybe I've passed away, but he needs a decision maker. So the estate plan's in place so that there are thoughtful alternates. That's kind of an extreme example, but it happens, unfortunately, far more than you think. In addition, if there's people in your lives, in your family lines, that you would prefer not to be a part of your estate distribution, you want to be very mindful and conscientious and intentional about adding those people, kind of carving them out, but being very specific in your wording around that. Certainly, if you have people in your life, next of kin, who shouldn't be around your children or raising your children or around your children's inheritance, you also want to make some protections around that.
So how long does it take to develop a plan? What are the steps someone would need to take to get this started, and how quick can they have it done? So
the partnership between Lilac City Law and the ALS Association Evergreen Chapter, we've done really a lot of work on the back end to streamline this whole process with the idea that your time is really valuable and really precious. And we want to be respectful of that, while at the same time doing the important work that we need to do and not skipping any corners around that. But we created a really rich, robust landing page with all the information that you'll need. And in doing so, we'll be able to execute a whole thing and get her done in just a couple of weeks. So if you go to the landing page, that we'll pull up the link here, and you follow through. It's got a bunch of reading material for you to look through. You can fill out a lot of the information on there. From there, it will ping back to our office. We'll be in touch with you to confirm everything that's in there, make sure that's correct, we've spelled everything correctly, and then just a couple of weeks later, we'll have all your fully executed documents ready for an official signing ceremony. So really just a couple of weeks. This isn't the kind of thing that you really want to put off, because if you wait too long and then you're no longer in a capacity to sign these kinds of things and execute them, you've lost the opportunity and the privilege to do so.
And how expensive is it?
Well, again, this is where the partnership between Lilac City Law and the ALS Association Evergreen Chapter really comes into play. We've done a lot of work in streamlining the process in terms of timeline, but also in terms of costs. So we've been very specific in creating different packages because we realize that single people without small children don't necessarily need the same level of planning that a married couple with an infant who have 3 homes in 2 different states need to protect and plan for. So again, do please read through the landing page and choose the plan that you think is right for you. When I follow up with you in a phone or in person or Skype consult, we'll go through together and just make sure that all the things you need to plan for, protect, and manage are appropriately covered in the plan that you've selected. So, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either of us. Do you want to share your contact information? Then I'll do that.
Sure. So Amara Bates, I am the development manager with the ALS Association Evergreen Chapter, and you can reach me at 509-863-4321.
And I'm Randi Johnson, the owner and founding attorney at Lilac City Law, RANDI at lilaccitylaw.com. Our office number is 509-624-1610. We're located in downtown Spokane, but we are licensed and serve all of Idaho and Washington. So thanks for tuning in. We look forward to serving you and answering any questions that you have. Thanks.